End-tidal CO2 monitoring is another helpful tool that can be used to continuously measure the expired CO2 in adult and pediatric patients. End-tidal CO2 monitoring is accomplished using the appropriate microstream accessories, either a nasal filter line, which is used with patients who are not intubated, or the airway adapter and filter line, which are used with patients who are intubated. The high humidity filter line is recommended for longer-term CO2 monitoring of intubated patients. In this video, we will demonstrate the use of the nasal filter line. The instructions for the airway adapter are on its packaging. To monitor end-tidal CO2, connect the nasal filter line tubing to the CO2 tubing connector. Insert the filter line connector and turn the filter line wings just until some resistance is felt. Power on the monitor and adjust contrast if necessary. The CO2 monitor senses when the filter line is connected and begins initializing immediately. This initialization warm-up includes a self-test and auto zero and may take up to 2.5 minutes. Apply the nasal end of the filter line to the patient with the prongs curving downward and secure the tubing by sliding the sleeve up toward the chin. The CO2 area on the screen displays the end-tidal CO2 measurement in millimeters of mercury, percent, or kilopascals. These units of measure must be pre-configured in the monitor. The CO2 area also displays respiratory rate in breaths per minute. To display the CO2 waveform, select channel 2 or 3. Select waveform in the channel overlay and select CO2. The continuous CO2 waveform is displayed along with a scale on the right side of the screen. For more detail about the phases of the CO2 waveform, consult the operating instructions. To change the CO2 scale, select channel 3, select scale, and then select the desired scale range. When quick-set alarms are selected, the CO2 monitor provides high and low end-tidal CO2 alarms and a high inspired CO2 alarm. An apnea alarm is also provided, independent of the quick-set alarms, and is on whenever CO2 monitoring is in use. An apnea alarm will occur when the device has not detected a valid breath for 30 seconds. The alarm message includes the time since the last detected breath. The alarm clears once a breath is detected. If an apnea alarm occurs, first check the patient and then the tubing to see if it has been dislodged or disconnected. The alarms can be temporarily silenced by pressing Alarms. When CO2 monitoring is no longer desired, disconnect the filter line from the device. This removes any CO2 alarm condition and reduces the power drain on the battery from the CO2 module. The LifePak 12 end-tidal CO2 monitor has built-in messages to help troubleshoot problems that may arise. CO2 filter line off indicates that the filter line is disconnected from the CO2 connection on the monitor. Reconnect the filter line to the monitor as previously described. CO2 filter line purging indicates the filter line may be clogged or twisted, or in the case of air transport, that a rapid altitude change occurred. After 30 seconds of unsuccessful purging, the message CO2 filter line blockage appears. Remove and reconnect the filter line, or replace if necessary. For more information about troubleshooting, messages, and suggested corrective actions, consult your operating instruction manual. Caution: failure to keep the CO2 tubing connector door closed when not in use may cause water or particulate contamination of the CO2 sensor. This may cause the CO2 module to not operate. This concludes the end-tidal CO2 monitoring section of this video.